Hi guys, welcome to another video of Introduction to New Zealand Electricity Market. In this slide, I'll be covering about Tiwai Smelter, of what happened to this smelter, what's the story behind this smelter, and the impact on New Zealand electricity pricing because of the decisions of that smelter. Just like I mentioned in the previous slide, I will be covering, first of all, what is this Tiwai Smelter, history of the smelter, what does it do, and then what did Rio Tinto do? Rio Tinto is basically the owner of the Tiwai Smelter, and what decision making it did that basically impacted the electricity pricing in New Zealand to an extent that prices took a completely different turn, and then electricity authority has to conduct a review into it as well. So let's get into it and find out what's the story behind the smelter. So in this section, I'll be covering details about what is Tiwai Smelter, the ownership. So Tiwai Smelter is basically located on the Tiwai Peninsula in South Island in New Zealand, on the southern part of New Zealand. It's a joint venture between Rio Tinto and the Sumitomo Group. 79% owned by Rio Tinto and 20% owned by Sumitomo Group, in a joint venture called the New Zealand Aluminium Smelters NZ Limited. Most of the plant's aluminium is supplied from refineries from Queensland and Northern Territory in Australia. Around 90% of the aluminium produced at Tiwai is mainly exported to Japan. The demand is around 570 megawatts, and that represent around 11 to 13% of the national demand. Majority of the supply basically comes from the Manipuri hydroelectric power station. Currently, it has got an electricity contract with Meridian till 2024. The smelter is basically a significant economic contributor to the South Island region. However, it also has significant environmental impact. The smelter is a major emitter of greenhouse gases. It produces pollutants such as fluoride and other particle matter. In the next section, I'll cover the story around what happened with the Tiwai Smelter, of how it announced in 2020 that it will close because the energy costs were really high, and then all of a sudden Rio Tinto changed the announcement, and it made an announcement that it will stay open till 2024, and then for now it plans to stay open beyond 2024 and onwards, but let's see how that goes. Let's jump into the next section and then see what was the story. Okay, so let's jump into the interesting part and let's find out what happened with the Tiwai Smelter and how did that impact the electricity prices. So on the left hand side, I've just copied two news items. One is from 10th of July 2020 and the other is from 15th of January 2021. So you can see that the 10th of July 2020 article says that the NZ, which is the New Zealand Aluminium Smelter, terminates electricity contract and plans to wind down operations following strategic review. So that was the time when Rio Tinto announced that following the strategic review, they have terminated the electricity contract and they plan to close the operations at Tiwai. Soon after that, in 15th of January 2021, the New Zealand Smelter announced that it has reached a deal with Meridian to extend operations beyond 2024. Now the interesting bit is basically on the right hand side, where you can see the green line, the black line and the blue line, and I've just circled it with a big yellow, that there was a big dip in the prices. So that big dip basically came soon after that July announcement, that July 2020 announcement, that hey look, we are planning to wind down operations. And then soon after that, there were speculations in the market just after that announcement that Rio Tinto is not planning to close the smelter, and soon after that the contracts just started going up, so there was no dip, and that is how there was this significant movement in the electricity market across the futures market in New Zealand because of this Tiwai announcement. As soon as they announced that yes, they have signed a contract with Meridian, there are no plans to close the smelter, and then you can see the increase in the electricity prices in New Zealand then. So in this slide, you can clearly see that I've added overlap those two news items, and this is more of a bigger picture of what happened to the future prices from March 2020 till January 2022, from based on the two different announcements. As soon as the New Zealand smelter announced on 10th of July that they are planning to wind down operations of the smelter, there was a big dip in prices, and then they slightly went up, traded a bit flat. And then following the January 2021 announcement by the New Zealand smelter that they plan to keep it open, and they have reached a deal with Meridian to extend operations till 2024, you can see that there was a big jump across all the calendar years. That was a significant increase in prices based on the Rio Tinto announcement. And that was an interesting story that I was just waiting to tell you guys, that how these announcements basically push the prices higher for the New Zealand electricity futures. As of today, while I'm doing the recording, the smelter basically plans to extend the operations beyond 2024. And there are still speculations in the market that it may remain open. Rio Tinto is still looking for an electricity contract for the Tiwai smelter. For now, I haven't heard if they have come across any deal or they have confirmed any deal yet, but as of today, they plan to keep the operations open beyond 2024.